when we say, oh, I'm vegan, great, you have great values, I love it. But please open the talk when you think about bee products and just be open a little bit. Let's talk together, and you'll realize that some bee products you should actually use because it's made ethically by ethical beekeeping. And some food source that you're eating in your daily diet are killing animals all the time. So it's something to think about.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this new video of Ilera Wellness. My name is Yann LORANGER. I'm a raw food chef, plant-based, but I'm also your certified integrative nutrition health coach. And last but not least, I'm the co-founder of Ilera Wellness, together with my sister Solange, who is here. Solange, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Giselle. How are you?
Good, thank you.
My name is Solange Adeshian. So I am doctor nutrition biologist. I am naturopath, of course, and also coaching yoga and meditation.
Thank you, Solange. And obviously we have a great guest here today, and his name is Yann. Yann, I would like you to introduce yourself because I so much appreciate what you do, Yann LORANGER. So do you mind introducing yourself to our public in terms of who you are and what you do?
With joy, let's do this. So yeah, my name is Yann LORANGER, and I'm Apithrapist. I'm an entrepreneur. I founded two companies, two businesses that are really, their aim is to create and offer the best bee products for health as possible, the best apitherapy products possible. So one of them is looking worldwide at the best possible bee products that exist for health and making them available. The other one really aims to actually to craft some bee products that are efficient and that we actually know the whole process behind the creation of those products to make sure they are the best possible. So we went all that way to create all this, and we have a solid team in that second company that crafts the products. It's Bee-O-Pharma, and we have experts from France that are actually researchers in the field of apitherapy since many years. So we have a really solid teams, and the first company is Happy Culture, the ones that is, you know, making everything available here in Canada and the States, etc. And I also co-founded the Canadian Apitherapy Association, of which I'm president. So very, very involved in the field of apitherapy since quite a while now.
Wow. So, and what is exactly the apitherapy to you?
Apitherapy, it's the use of bee products for health. And for human health, for animal health, even for plant health, there's some usage that we can use for plants as well, but mainly, let's say, for humans. So, and when we say bee products, we mean by bee products all different bee products. Most people know about honey, and most people will know that honey is good, for example, to heal wounds. That is very known, but there's way more than this. There's also pollen. We know that the bees not only harvest nectar to make honey, but they also harvest pollen to feed their babies. It's actually the source of food that it's so rich, nutritionally speaking, it makes the babies grow so fast. That's why a beehive can contain easily 50,000 bees in one single beehive, because they grow so fast because of that rich food, which is pollen. That's also why the bees are the honeybees are the best pollinators we could actually think of on Earth, because they're so numerous and they actually collect the pollen. And so that, because most pollinators collect only the nectar, the bees also collect pollen. So they actually have pollen all over their body. So they pollinate really efficiently, more than other pollinators. And there's more than pollen also. There's also propolis. Propolis is the most therapeutical bee products. The use of propolis is tremendous. It can help so many different health conditions. It's a resin, actually, that the trees are producing very often around the buds or the very young leaves. There's some sticky stuff very often there that you might have noticed. The bees are actually, to me, the best herbalists that exist on the planet. They actually arrived on Earth at the same time as plants with flowers, that plants that are blooming, and that is about 100 million years ago. So that's a really long time ago. The bees are accompanying those plants and actually are pollinating those plants since that long. So they really work together, and the bees know what to extract from those plants to get the most therapeutical product possible, and that is propolis. So the bees go there, they harvest that resin. So they don't only collect the nectar and pollen, they also collect the resin on the leaves and buds of trees, and they bring it back in the beehive. And that resin, which was actually a big part of the immune system of the plants, right? Because the plants protect themselves against different bacteria, fungi, and stuff with that resin. But then the bees harvest it and they put it in their beehive, and it becomes their own immune system. And we actually can do the same. And that use of propolis is quite amazing, because I don't know if you start seeing the full picture of this, but very often we think, oh, we have to unite all together to, the big example is to fight the virus. We had that for so long. But the reality is, when we connect, when we have a look at propolis, we see that plants harvest minerals from the ground, some light from the sun, water, and they collect all this and they form that resin. So they unite with, the earth, let's say, with all those elements to get that immune system protection, let's say, that resin. And then the bees, the animals, get that resin for them. And then us humans, we collect that propolis from the bees. And so it's a big chain. And when we talk about uniting all together to fight some type of disease, for me, propolis is the best example that exists on Earth. It's just fascinating because it goes through all those different, to me, they are all living things. The sun, for me, it's a living thing. Water is a living thing. Minerals as well. And of course, the plants too, the animals too, and then us. So it's a big chain all working together for health. Anyway, it's a great example for me, that one. So there's propolis as well. There's also bee venom, which is not as known. The main reason for this is it's not legal to use bee venom in most countries. In Canada, for example, it's not legal to do bee venom injections. It's been used through time from some medical doctors. One in Montreal was Dr. Sain that did it for quite a while, and it was for arthritis for his patients. But since he was doing it and it's not legal, he's been, pushed away. He couldn't practice anymore. So yeah, that's an example just to get the idea of what is happening with bee venom. It's extremely efficient for some things, for some types of Lyme disease. Lyme disease is a big topic. There's some efficiency there. I've seen it myself. It's a great anti-inflammatory, even though if it doesn't show, because it actually creates some swelling, although it's a great anti-inflammatory. Anyway, we won't talk so much about bee venom because it's not legal here in Canada. In some countries it is. In Cuba, I know that some people use it, and there's many different usages for bee venom. So we had those. There's also royal jelly. So these are the 5 main products that are being completed now with royal jelly. Now, royal jelly, there's a lot of fake royal jelly on the market. So be really careful when you look at royal jelly. In France, they did a great work. Now there is a real royal jelly in France. About 10 or 12, or I'm not sure how many years ago, very hard to find. Now it exists. In Canada, to be honest, good luck finding it. We don't even provide royal jelly. Our company that we provide so many bee products, we don't even provide it. The reason is we're not sure yet that we found a good real source of royal jelly. We have some royal jelly in a mixture, in a epi cocktail, we call it, that comes from Romania. We know it's a real source. It's possible to get it, but locally in Canada, there's no beekeeper producing royal jelly. There's some that produce very, very little amount, but almost nothing. So just to give you an idea, it's hard to get real royal jelly. We could, of course, import some from France, but in another aspect of things, royal jelly also is very costly, not only for us because it's costly, but it's costly for the beehives as well. It demands a lot from a beehive to produce royal jelly. And for example, people that are vegan, for example, they don't like bee products because they think, oh, humans, and then they don't like the bee products. Well, that whole idea for me, because I'm also, I'm a very ecological person, so I'm very sensitive to that. And the other bee products, no problem. We can harvest, it's fine. The bees are happy, and if you have good beekeepers, you're not hurting the bees at all. But royal jelly, it's that thing, you know, and bee venom as well. Those two products, it's great to use if you really need them, if it's survival, and I also have a YouTube channel where I explain everything, all this in details. But those two, you know, they demand so much from the beehive, you use it only when you really need it. And if you can use other bee products to treat yourself, awesome. So that's why we work mainly with propolis, fresh frozen bee pollen, and honey. These are the main three that are being used because they're easy to harvest. They're not depleting the beehive when we harvest them at all. Like, we can do that ethically, no problem. Yeah. So by the way, for that vegan thing, thinking there, because it's huge, huh? This is a big movement, so we have to consider it. And myself, I'm, you know, very sensitive to that. So for me, you know that the bees are used to pollinate big crops, big monoculture fields and stuff like that. You know that. So many people, what they eat is damaging way more the bees, even if it's plants, than using pollen, propolis, and honey when it's done ethically. The number of, I'll give you the worst, it's cranberry. If you like cranberry and you're vegan, it's nonsense because you're killing bees, right? Because cranberries are really hard to pollinate, and it weakens the beehive so bad you wouldn't imagine, because they're starving, because there's not much nectar, there's not much pollen. Just giving you an idea. When we say, oh, I'm vegan, great, you have great values, I love it. But please open the talk when you think about bee products, and just be open a little bit. Let's talk together, and you'll realize that some bee products you should actually use because it's made ethically by ethical beekeeping. And some food source that you're eating in your daily diet are killing animals all the time. So it's something to think about. Anyway.
Wow, I do very much appreciate this explanation, because it gives us a little bit of perspective as to how we relate to products sometimes, and we don't think of how harmful they may be to bees. That leads me to my next question, where I would like to know, you know, bees or bee products are well known to boost our immune system, right? So what kind of bee-related products would you recommend in order to restore our gut microbiome and even fight some chronic inflammation or allergies in general?
Thank you. Excellent question. You're right. The immune system is so key nowadays. We heard about it. We hear about it all the time. So the champion of bee products for immune system is definitely propolis. This is and it's not only a boost of immune system, it's more than this. It's called immunomodulator, because if needed, it will boost your immune system. But if you need to slow it down a little bit, you know, when you have autoimmune disease, you cannot boost your immune system. Probably you've heard that, you know, I have that type of disease, I cannot boost my immune system. My doctor said, don't take anything that will boost your immune system. Nothing, just the treatment, nothing else. Well, with propolis, it's different because it's immunomodulator. So if it needs to slow down your immune system, it will do so. Basically, it brings homeostasis to many of our systems, actually. And that have been studied for many different organs, for example, for the health of our liver, the health of our cardiac system, of our nervous system. Propolis is amazing. There's lots of different active molecules in propolis. We're talking about 200 to 400 different active molecules in propolis. So it's a huge cocktail in itself, right? It's not just a pill where you have one isolated molecule. It's this one, and this one will have that effect. And it's very concentrated. And we don't know so much about side effects on the long term and all this when we do that. But nature produces that immune system resin. You heard the story from the minerals, the plants, and so on. And it brings that available to us in a very complete way. And there's one thing I want to mention about propolis. It's the fact that, you know, when the plants produce that resin, they never produce it exactly the same. That's why huge pharmaceutical don't like propolis so much, because they don't have always the same thing. and it's complex. It has so many different molecules. They don't like it very much, and that's why you don't have, big pharma selling propolis all the time, even though it's extremely efficient. They don't do it yet because it's complicated to work with it. It's not an insulated molecule, right? And since nature is so clever, it's more clever than us all together. So it actually, because we're part of it, that's why. So nature is actually producing a propolis, so the plants are doing this, a propolis that is different every time. That means that there won't be resistance to propolis because it's never the same. So the bacteria, the viruses and stuff, they don't get resistant to propolis because of that. And nature is that clever. That's why it's using that resin on the buds and all this, because it will always work, because it's always different. There's a bit more sun, a bit more rain that year. The molecules will be different. The soil have different compositions. So just to give you a little idea on how propolis is great. So yeah, for inflammation concerns, propolis is a great anti-inflammatory. And if we're talking about microbiome health, propolis will help, but specifically in combination with fresh frozen bee pollen, and that has been proven recently through scientific study. And we have one of our session that we offer to give advice to naturopaths and all this. Actually, there's one that is called digestive health, and we explain that in details, how the combination of fresh frozen bee pollen with propolis and capsules usually will be extremely useful, and it will actually rejuvenate or regenerate the inner walls of the intestinal gastrointestinal walls. Gut, yeah, exactly. So by regenerating this, we'll have a better digestion, less inflammation, and this is amazing. We already had the information, for example, on Crohn's disease. Is that correct pronunciation? So for Crohn's disease, we knew we had examples of this with fresh frozen bee pollen already helping. Well, now we know that if we combine that with propolis, then we get even better effect because of all those different molecules. I won't tell you the whole story, but it's those two together that gives the best results. Now, if we talk about allergies, we have to mention that if it's seasonal allergies, for example, like pollen allergies, using fresh frozen bee pollen, minute amount, we're talking about, those grains are very small. And if you take just the 1 grain or even half a grain and try it, test it first, usually what we do for safety, we put that half grain or grain between our lip and the gums, and between there, leave it for a few minutes, then have a look. If it's red and it seems there's not a rash, but it's red and then maybe don't use it too much, or use less, or maybe don't use it. Some people are extremely allergic. I've seen it twice through, what is it now, like 8 years of doing this specific work with allergies and pollen. Twice, 1 grain was way too much for the person and already had a reaction. So be careful before swallowing it, do that test, do it. And also think that every single shade of color of pollen comes from a different plant, and some pollen can come from different timing of the season. So if you're specifically allergic to some pollen and you try pollen and you're fine with it, all of a sudden you could be allergic. Also, I found when you have fresh frozen bee pollen, since it's more fresh, it's more natural, it's stronger, that effect. So it will be more efficient to desensitize your system to pollen. In the meantime, if you take the same amount as you're used to, could develop some type of allergic reaction. So just be careful around this. But basically, if you take that grain of pollen every single day of the year, that's through experience for me, through many thousands of people. What I've seen, usually the first year you will drop about 50% of your symptoms. Second year, about 75%. In the third year, usually you don't have much symptoms at all. That will change. For some people, it's very, very slow. For example, Isabel, she still has some allergy. It's way less than before, but it's been 4 years and there's still some symptoms. So it's not always the same. I had also a few cases, 6 months, gone, no more allergies at all in 6 months. So it will vary from person to person. It gives you an idea of the average.
Wow, amazing. So what is the difference and effectiveness of the pollen that we usually buy in the industry, and the health benefits?
Okay, so the difference between the one we find in the stores, usually what you'll find is usually dried bee pollen, and you find it on the shelf, right? The pollen we are providing, you will never find on the shelf. You will find in a freezer because it's fresh frozen. The difference is huge. When you dry your pollen, you lose everything that will help the microbiome first. So that's a huge loss. Then you lose also lots of vitamins. You will keep some of the proteins, the glucids and fiber. You'll keep those, the lipids too. But in the meantime, very often, there will be some oxidation. So their quality will be less as well. What we do, we actually have a special procedure to really keep it really well fresh frozen. And we also use amber jars. So this way it's even protected from light. You don't want to oxidize your pollen. And the difference will be on the effectiveness for your health of your guts. Also for specific indication, because the concentration of vitamins and minerals is so high in pollen that sometimes you can actually have specific indications for different things, for prostate problems, for example, for different conditions. It can help specifically if you go with monoflower, only one type of pollen in your jar, not a wildflowers where we have all those different colors in your jar, but yeah, just the one. Then you can really specifically have some indications. So that's one thing. And so that's on the efficiency of the pollen. Is a huge difference with the fresh frozen and the dry one, but also on the taste experience. It tastes so much better when you have it fresh frozen. For people that tried before dried bee pollen, it's kind of good if you're really motivated to like it, or if you like it naturally, great. But for most people, they won't like the taste that much. If you try fresh frozen, huge difference. And naturally, it is fresh frozen. Like fresh frozen won't deteriorate pollen at all. There's not much water in the pollen, so it won't deteriorate its quality, nor the taste, nor nothing. It's just like fresh. And the difference in taste is amazing. It's like night and day. And then it becomes a whole experience moving from one type of pollen to the other, because you actually feel the taste, the flavor difference. And it's a huge difference from one pollen to the other. The taste, it's amazing. There's one that I love so much. You could do some desserts with it. You could be very creative because the tastes are different. And there's a whole culture of taste with pollen that we can develop through time.
Wow, this is so interesting. And I would like to know, can we use any, or properly, especially, not bee products in general, but properly specifically, can we use it to prevent or treat COVID-19?
Yeah, totally. Actually, there's a full clinical study that has been conducted in Brazil in hospitals with more than 140 patients, if I remember well. And it was, double blind, really well done, like a really professionally well conducted study, one of the best you can find on propolis. It's really seriously well done. And the results were obvious. It was concerning hospitalized patients of COVID-19. So not just someone that, I have COVID, and then, like a flu or something like the regular version. No. We're talking about hospitalized patients. And it was very clear that the time of hospitalization was reduced by half, just using regular type of amount of propolis on a daily basis. So think about it when we're saying, hospitals, overflow with people, there's too much. Well, imagine you just use the natural propolis. If you have beehives at home, you go there, you take your propolis, and there you go. You're helping yourself out so well. So for that study, it was a specific type of propolis, because there's different botanical origin of propolis. It was the green propolis from Baccharis plant origin. So that comes from Brazil. That's the only place that plant is growing. So that specific one comes from there. And there was another study also, and also reviews that have been conducted on poplar propolis. This one is the most common brown one, propolis, and also showing that for prevention, it's very efficient. So most probably that both poplar and green propolis would be, I don't know how equal, we didn't have a study to compare both together, but most probably both are efficient for COVID from the studies and reviews we had. And of course it is efficient. And it's wonderful. I used it myself when I had COVID. I had COVID, of course, like almost everybody. So I had it and it went really well. Like I was using the propolis, you know, and it went really well. Isabel as well, my wife, and yeah.
Wow. There's something new that I learned when I was making some researches on your website, and I saw that the propolis is not only consumed orally, but it can also be inhaled. So can you tell us a little bit about the benefits of inhaling propolis, using propolis?
Yeah, propolis inhalation is the best way to do it, the most efficient way. There's a device to do it. It's a propalair, and it comes from a company in Italy called Contact. And we actually distribute it here in Canada and the States. And it's a wonderful device. The level of research they did with it, it's just amazing. In propolis, you have volatile active ingredients. If you heat it properly, they will be diffused in the air and you'll be breathing it. Now, there are different benefits from it, two different types of benefits. First type is it's going to clear the ambient air you're breathing from bacteria, viruses, funguses as well. Like if there's mold and stuff, it will clear that from the air. So this is first amazing. It's cleaning your air with propolis, with a resin from the trees, naturally done by the plants, created by plants, harvested by bees, then by humans, and it's just fascinating. So you clean your air, first thing. Second thing, you actually breathe in those same molecules that are anti-inflammatory, that have all those different ways of action with so many different active molecules, and you breathe it in. So it goes directly into your breathing system, and you absorb those molecules through your breathing system. So if you do have some type of breathing problem, and it's active, it's very helping for many different types of problems, well, you absorb those molecules directly. It's even more efficient than if you eat orally. You know, if you ingest orally your propolis, then it goes in your system and some of it will go in your respiratory system. But if you actually breathe it in, it goes right there on the spot and it's effective right there. So it's very efficient.
Wow, that's amazing to know. And have you heard of people who have tested it and have had positive results?
Oh yeah, and quite a few actually. It's very rare that people won't have positive results with propalair. Honestly, that's why I kept working with this one, because we try all the different things that come from, you know, here and there in the world in apitherapy. We're really specialized in this, so we know. And with propalair, that one we kept, because from the very beginning we had that case, a very young child, and she had bronchitis, but a repetitive bronchitis, and it was all the time, and the hospitals didn't know what to do anymore. It was very stressful for the parents. And then an osteopath mentioned them, oh, you should contact Apiculture, you know, they have this propalair device, could help. And then they used the propalair, and results were quite amazing at very first. And that can happen to many people. Actually, it was generating more mucus, and so that don't overreact. It's normal. That can happen in the very first 2 weeks or so. You can actually have this happen, and it's totally normal if it happens. Not all the time, very rarely, in fact, but for some people with some respiratory troubles, they can have this, and it's fine. You can keep going with it. And then after 3-4 weeks, that's it, case closed at the hospital. And it was amazing to see. Hospitals didn't know, you know, how did you do this? They didn't know. Of course, they won't believe that it's the proppeller doing it, but it was so obvious and very, very helpful. So that one was very touching because, right, it's a child. So even for us, we saw right away, whoa, very good results. But then through time, we saw a lot of good results. People that are very often having flus in the wintertime, well, for COVID, obviously for prevention, people that were having this, way less flus in the wintertime. My sister, she's a teacher, and that is known, you know, using propeller, but it's someone so close to me. So she usually through a year, she was in her class, she was using 3, 4, sometimes 5 boxes of Kleenex, right? And that year, the first year she used the propeller, she didn't even use a full box. So just to show you the difference, and way less children were missing school because of flus and stuff. So really showing directly the influence, because of course, you know, children, one have it, all the others will get it. And then of course, after they bring in the families and all this, you know, it's big propagation of flus through classes and daycare and stuff like this. So it's wonderful for that type of area because it's cleaning the air, right? And it's also helping the immune system of the kids. So there's this one. And also a very important one for us was someone that had, you know, this, I don't know, it's a fibrosis, but this respiratory problem that people have after COVID. Some people have this complication, right? They're having a hard time breathing after having COVID. Some people have that. And they tried the propeller, the one with the mask, to breathe in directly. And the testimonial was amazing. Every single time it's helping them, and it's making a huge difference for them. They were saying, oh, we have a life again, right? It's such a huge difference. And it's so natural. So it's just fascinating to use that type of product, to have that level of efficiency in such a simple way.
That's what I love about it. And do you know for how long do they have to take it to start experiencing the first positive results?
For that person, it was very obvious and very, very quickly. It happened very quickly. In the first days, because the testimonial arrived just, you know, in 2 weeks, testimonial was there, and they were used to have great results already. So I didn't have the detail of that one. And as I said, the bronchitis, repetitive bronchitis, it was 3-4 weeks to get strong results. And then it depends. For asthma, for example, you feel a difference in a couple weeks from what I remember from the cases I know of directly. It depends on the condition, but it's definitely helping lots of different type of respiratory breathing trouble.
Wow. Amazing. So this is wonderful what you're saying. I have learned a lot of things. So thank you about that. And I want to order my propeller. I want just to let people know, you guys also, that it's not only taking this product, but it's not only taking propeller. You have also to pay attention to your nutrition, to the food you are eating. So the way is not eating, just taking your propeller and go eating fast food. So that's gonna not work. So you have to combine. This is a holistic approach. You have to make to take care of your food, the food you are eating, and combined with the propeller, that can help also. So I have learned also how to save money in Canada, because I used to order rare jelly. So thank you so much. I won't order anymore because that costs a lot of money. And I will prefer ordering propolis or fresh propolis. That's going to be better for me than ordering something that I don't have any benefit effect on my health. So thank you so much, Yann. I want to know, how can people contact you and have access to some of your products?
All right. So first way is through the website. It is happycultureinc.com. So happy culture inc.com. And then there's, of course, the email address, which is info@happycultureinc.com. And then you can also call us directly. We have a great service, client service, and it's Isabelle Rabat, my wife, that will answer you. Here's the phone number, 514-915-2890. And we're still fairly small, so we can still afford to give a really good service to our clients when they phone in. And we're really proud of that. And we actually love to connect with people that love health and love, natural products and all this. So as long as we can, we keep that connection, and it's a passion for us.
Wow, we speak the same language, Yann, so we're on the same page there. And for you guys, we're going to put the link to their website down below so that you can see it and go and visit the website. We can also leave the phone number that Yann just shared with you and down below in the comment section or underneath the video for you to check it out. And we appreciate so much your contribution here, Yann. We learned so very much, and I will very much encourage people to go order their products on your website and start their own self-healing journey, because it is a journey to understand how your body works, to use the different natural products and test them and see the impact on your health. And I actually got to learn today that you may be allergic to pollen, but that's an overstatement, because it also depends upon the flower that has been pollinated, right? So be allergic to pollen is a broad statement per se. So thanks so much for your education here today. And for you all guys who have been following us, thank you so much for watching this video. And if you have appreciated it, don't forget to like it and turn on your notification so that you may be aware of the next video to come. But thank you so much, Solange, for being here today. And thanks again, Yann, for your participation. And we'll talk to you all next time.
Thank you very much.
Bye.